Hello and a very warm welcome to the first episode of our new podcast, BiCoTa, the Bitwig Community Talk, where we talk regularly about the news, features of, with and around the digital audio workstation Bitwig for Linux, Windows and Mac, and for sure some rumors of the community. We are broadcasting live from Earth because we are family. This is an insert afterwards because there were some severe issues with recording and streaming the podcast, and additionally even the backup solution failed because an SD card decided to die after a minute of recording. So there are 55 minutes of around 90 minutes left, but these are the important ones because it is all about our wonderful guests Pat Cupo and Beat aka Synthmill and their relationship to Bitwig and their work with music. The last 5 to 10 minutes, you will notice that the problem began and then the stream and recording broke completely. But as they say, if the premiere fails, the show will have a long life and we will work on it to improve the stability. So I hand over now to Jürgen, who is my partner host on this podcast, and he is doing the introduction. So have fun.
Hello, everybody out there on your video screens all over the world, hopefully. So, yeah, I'm here with Odo, and we had this crazy idea to do a community talk because there's none so far. So we had to start our own one. And we bring some guests, which is the idea, into the talk. And we will talk a bit about Bitwig, new features, new versions, and what people do about it. So back to Odo. Or they're writing in the comments that they cannot hear you.
Try something. So now I'm directly on the channel and people can hear me. Okay. So this was the first. No, we don't have to start again because people did hear you. So at the end, I just say you very warm welcome to the podcast BiCoTa. Jürgen introduced something about the podcast as well. And we have to introduce a little bit of the technique, what we are doing with this podcast. So I start over. The podcast will be regularly recorded in live stream on YouTube every 2 to 4 months, depending a little on the Bitwig release schedule and maybe some other big Bitwig related news. Just to keep you heavily irritated, we will alternate the live stream between my YouTube channel, Udo Sendaidukai, and Jürgen Moosgraber's YouTube channel, Moss. But the announcement will be always on both channels, so you won't miss it if you by accident didn't subscribe to both of our channels. And additionally, there is a nice old-fashioned blog with a podcast feed for your personal enjoyment that you can subscribe with the world's best podcatcher app, for example, the free AntennaPod or some other app for your smartphone or your operating system supports. And for sure, high respecting your data privacy. All the information is noted down in the video description and as well on the linked blog, aka podcast article. And as a modern world citizen, you know that you can support us with later commenting the live stream with, for example, hate speech like I dish the grifts and I like to eat, or more specific topics like I don't like to use scales with sharps, I think they are too edgy, or just pure love and poems. But as I said, you know how it works. If you like to see and hear more episodes of this podcast, do the social media quartet, like, subscribe, comment, and share the podcast and its guests massively. So thank you very much. And I hand over to Jürgen, who you may know or you should know. And if you don't know, maybe Jürgen, tell something about yourself, who you are and what you're doing in this whole community thing.
Yeah, hello everybody again. I hope now everybody can hear us both. And yeah, what am I doing? I guess if you're a Bitwig user, you heard about me. I'm doing the Driven by Moss extension for Bitwig, which supports many controllers and also other open source software. And I'm also a Bitwig user myself for making music. And yeah, maybe that's enough for an introduction. How did you come to Bitwig, Odo?
I came to Bitwig because I used other softwares before, and I'm doing music since a longer time, but not so intensively. And one day I thought, okay, I need to dive in a little bit more in this whole stuff. And my background is very IT related, so I'm nerdish by nature and a Linux enthusiast. And one of the first things that struck me with Bitwig was that it was available for Linux. And there were or there are some alternatives on Linux, but I came from a little different side. And then a friend of mine told me, oh, come on, look at Bitwig. And I tried it and I felt in love. I think after I've seen it, I bought it maybe 2 hours later or something. So I was completely convinced because everything, I looked at it and it just struck me from the workflow and everything I saw in the first 2 hours. And then I thought, okay, I will buy that, I will try that. And I felt in love with that. So that's my way. But let's now introduce our guests. We have 2 really nice guests here on the show. I put them on the screen so you see on the one hand Pat Cupo and on the other hand Synthmill. Exactly. So I always have to look where they are exactly because I don't know where they are in the stream. So let's start with Pat. Pat, you're from the US. Maybe you want to tell something about yourself to the people. They may not know you. I hope that everybody knows you, but maybe there's 1 or 2 guy who doesn't know you. So please, Pat, tell something.
Sure. Thank you very much. Hey, everyone. I'm Pat Cupo. I have, you might know me from some Bitwig videos, official videos that I've done. I've been a Bitwig user since, I think, 2019. I'm a Bitwig certified trainer, and I like to use Bitwig for making music. I use it for teaching myself and teaching other people. It is my main DAW right now, and I love sharing it with as many people as possible. So, yeah.
So thank you very much, Pat. Jürgen?
You mean Beat?
I thought you want to introduce Beat, but okay, Beat. Let's start.
He's old enough to do it himself, right?
Yeah.
Beat?
Okay, Beat. Let's start.
I'm not very sure, but hello, everyone. Nice to be here. I'm how can I say really a hobby producer, making some music with Jürgen together the last months, and having a lot of hardware, using it with Bitwig now. I had to use it with Bitwig because Jürgen wanted to produce on Bitwig, so I had to. But I can say that I supported the project from the first day. I didn't use it from the first day, but I supported it. I bought the first version because I was really smashed about the things they want to make with it, and as an alternative to Ableton, what I was using for the creative process, and then always transferring the project to a timeline DAW like the Studio One, and because the Ranger in Ableton was shitty, and I don't want to say if it's shitty again. I don't know, but I was really very impressed about the things they want to make, and I'm using Bitwig now, but I think I'm 10% into the program as you are, so I'm just can give an input or inputs from a hobby user like me, and yeah, I'm happy to be with you.
Maybe you want. Thank you very much. Maybe you want to tell something about, because you released a record not long ago with Jürgen.
Yeah, this was a project, or is a project. I hope it is still a project. Maybe. No, was we met at Happy Nobbing. What is this is a yearly synthesizer happening, modular synthesizer meeting in Germany, and I think we placed. We had a place near to each other, and we made some music there, and had the idea to make something more, to put some music out in this world where is. And it is. It
the project is called Border Machine, by the way.
It's on the screen as well, so you can visit the website. Yeah.
So this is nice. And yeah, we had this idea to make music together, and did both use Bitwig, but he also used Bitwig before we did the project. So it was not me making him use it really. But nevertheless, it worked fine that we just exchanged project, because Beat's living in Switzerland, I'm in Germany. So we have also quite a distance and cannot meet that easily. So we exchanged projects via Google Drive, and this worked out really nice. So it's just a discussion online again, and had 3 songs out as an EP. And if you want to check it out, as Otto said, it's down in the link.
Exactly.
Yeah. Pat, how did you come into Bitwig? You were also a user, I heard.
Yeah. I'll give you a little background story. So I'm a bass player, and I've been a bass player for at least 25 years now. I was working in New York City as a studio musician. I was subbing on Broadway, and I got a little burnt out. And a family member, a cousin of mine, she said, "Oh, why don't you come move to Texas with me, Houston, Texas, in the U.S. And I just for a year, and then you'll go back and do all your gigs." So I did that, and when I got off the plane, she's like, "Oh, I got a job lined up for you tomorrow. It starts tomorrow." I'm like, I thought I was taking a break. So what it was in a middle school, 6th grade through 8th grade here in the U.S. And it was teaching music. It was teaching guitar, and I was assisting the orchestra director. I thought I would hate it, but I ended up loving it. And I really didn't think I was going to become a teacher, but that's how I did. Fast forward a little bit, I was auditioning for Cirque du Soleil in Canada, in Montreal. Got the gig. Told my principal, my boss, I'm going to leave and join the circus. She said, no, what can I do to make you stay? I said, you know what? I'm interested in this program called Ableton Live. What if I took one of the computer labs in the school and I turned it into a music production program? She said, sure. How much does it cost? I said, you give me $80,000 and I'll make it happen. She said yes. So I had to stay. So I stayed, and I built this program, which got the attention of Ableton itself, a bunch of different companies. But what it introduced me to is something called DubSpot. DubSpot was a school in the U.S., in New York, in L.A., and also online. I moved to New York to be the curriculum director at DubSpot. And it was there that I shared an office with none other than Dave Lindenbank, who I'm sure all of you know from Bitwig. He is in a bunch of amazing videos, which you should definitely check out. And he is really the one that taught me how to really think about things in synthesis and music production. I'm just really, really lucky to have shared an office with him. But also, as the curriculum director, I got to work with a lot of teachers. One of them who we hired was Thavius Beck, another certified trainer. But something about Thavius, when I first started learning Ableton Live when I was in Texas at the middle school, he was the first private teacher I had online. So Thavius and I go way back. Dave Lindenbank and I go way, way back. So now fast forward a long time, Dave Lindenbank moves to Berlin to work for Bitwig. And he says, Pat, I'm working at this new company. Check out Bitwig. And I said, no, I hate it. I really didn't like it at first. I was like, why is the browser on that side? Why is the highest BPM 666 instead of 999? And everything. I know, yeah. So everything was just backwards, and I couldn't find anything. It just frustrated me. But I listened to Dave like I always do, as everyone should. And I fell in love with it because what it did for me was it taught me, like Bitwig itself, using it taught me how to think about things differently and ultimately improve the way I made music. And then I was like, okay, now I really want to share this with everyone. Do you guys need any work? Do you have any work for me to teach this? He's like, yeah, we'll have certified trainers down the line, but we have this product coming out, or like a version 4.2, I think it was, that needs videos. So that's how I started making videos for them. So it was really Dave Lindenbank. Dave Lindenbank is the one that got me into it.
And he was also working at that school?
Yes. Okay. So important thing about that, I was the curriculum director. So it was me and the owner of the school who decided what would be taught. But then we wanted to build the online school. Dave was in charge of the online school. So Dave and I worked to build Dubspot Online. And really, he's the one that made it work. I was the one doing business with all the teachers. He was the one actually writing code in the background for things. So Dave is my hero. This is part of my story. And then Fabius and I, we have gone back and forth between different things. It's really because of him that I stayed with Bitwig. He was an Ableton certified trainer first, and I was like, oh, I want to be an Ableton certified trainer. I was like, now I use Bitwig. Oh, now I want to stay with Bitwig. So it's between those two people that I got into it and stayed with it.
So something you said made me curious. You said it made you think differently, because people say, oh, at least in the beginning, they say, oh, Bitwig's just a copy or clone of Ableton. So what do you think is so different that made you even think differently? The grid now, or
no, well, I'll get to the grid. But the first thing that made me think differently was the way that you could, let's just take the reverb, which I know is not everyone's favorite device. It's very vanilla sounding, I guess you could start by saying, but that you could just take an effect and put it in the tank. Like that, you could not do that with the Ableton device. You could make chains and effect racks very easily in live, but Bitwig, you could actually put something in the tank itself. Also, now I can actually make my own reverb and make it really personal to me. One of the weird things at first was like, oh, I can have a MIDI effect after the instrument. Why would I ever want to do that? And then I learned different reasons why you'd want to do that. I mean, they're very esoteric, but I know there's a international audience. I don't want to use my big esoteric words, sorry. But things like that, things like being able to see the session view and arrangement view, or the launcher and the arranger, just like, oh yeah, of course you'd want to see both at the same time. And now you can do that in live. So who's copying who?
Yeah, sure. I always hated with Ableton that the channel controls are on the right, because I'm coming from Cubase and Reaper I used it a lot, and it drove me crazy that's on the right. It's a very simple thing, but that's why I love Bitwig from the first start, and it had the advantages of Ableton, but still the arranger was much more like the classic DAW.
Right. I can't remember everything that shifted my mind because it's so ingrained in how I think now. But when I see people coming from Ableton over to Bitwig, then I start to see them again. Why would you do that? And I start to explain why something is the way it is in Bitwig, and they start to think differently.
That's where you can see many videos online as well, where people come from different DAWs. They tell a kind of similar story. Like, okay, they were used to it and they were really okay with their DAW, but at one point they just sneaked a little bit into Bitwig and saw, okay, there are some really nice things the way they are doing, and I think that's for most people like, oh, that's very interesting. I have to look deeper into. If they change at the end, is a completely different question. But it's at the end one of their tools they are fairly often using then.
Yeah, I would never say you should 100% switch to Bitwig. Bitwig is not the only DAW that I use. I still use Live for different things. I still use Cubase and Logic for different things. But mostly everything ends up in Bitwig.
Bert, sorry, I interrupted you.
Do you draw the line? So when do you say you switch to a different tool for what application?
It depends. I mean, I do all arranging, mixing, and mastering in Bitwig. It's like plugins you can have in all of them. The grid is where I usually live for all sound design things, but like I really miss. I don't know if we're getting into all the feature requests yet, but I really miss things like MIDI comping. That's something I will still go back to Live to use because I can't do it in Bitwig yet.
Yeah,
sorry, Dave. If you're watching.
that are often discussed in forums and so on. Yeah, sure. But Beat, sorry, Beat, we interrupt you.
One thing to add to that, I did the video for audio comping when it came out, and Dave was the one that told me first about the project, and I said, "Oh, is there also MIDI comping?" He said, "No, sorry." So just a little tidbit.
Okay, but now Beat, sorry.
Yeah, I was not sure if you can hear me, but what I just wanted to add to one of the big things that changed from Live to Bitwig was this crazy routing of possibilities from track to track routing, and this was changing everything in my creative process in the DAW. So I don't have to think over this and this and this. I just can take an input from a track, put it on 6 other tracks, and yeah, there were no limitations as what's in this part. And this was a really, when I showed this to I don't know today how Ableton make it now, but when I showed it to Ableton users, they just don't understand what I'm making. It's so easy.
Yeah,
so Beat, maybe you can tell us a bit about how do you integrate all your tons of hardware we see in the background into Bitwig?
Okay. This is there is this hardware device in Bitwig, and it's working perfectly. So yeah, I don't have to think a lot of the process. I just open it, and but I have a template with everything inside, with every device, every hardware device inside, and an audio channel for each hardware when I want to record live. There is one point in Bitwig where I'm not so happy with, because the channel height is not. I cannot make it smaller than this 1 centimeter on the screen. So with a lot of channels, you are scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. I don't like this, but I can manage it. Yeah. MIDI integration is great. I cannot say anything negative about it. Just the thing we had with the to record a knob of a synth, it's not as easy as in another DAW I use when I want to record the automation from a synth that is not mapped in the controller area. Yeah, it is a little bit I think a little bit, I don't know the word quirky in Bitwig. In Studio One, I just see, I touched a knob, I can draw it to the track, and then I can record. And in Bitwig, when it's not defined as a controller, I cannot make it directly. So that's a little issue, a little point with working with hardware, but yeah, it's working great.
Okay, so you give them a little bit room for improving stuff with that. But at the end, I understood that from connecting or plugging in your hardware is like you plug it in, you have your template there, and everything normally works like a charm.
Yeah, the hardware instrument you mentioned, that's really the thing to do. That's one of the main points that made me switch, because in Cubase that's a nightmare to set this up. You need to have different tracks and everything, and also in Ableton it wasn't that nice. And Bitwig it's so simple. You just put in the device, select the MIDI output and an audio input, and it's just working. And you can add already effects after it, and that's really good.
Another thing that is not perfect yet is when you have different setups with the same audio interface, that you cannot save a setup. So today or live, I'm using the audio inputs 1, 2, 3 for this device, 5, 4, 5, 6 for this. So I'd like to save this as my live setup, and when I'm in the channel 17 and 18, this is another thing I'd like to have a possibility to save it, but yeah. no DAW is perfect.
Yeah. But also a nice feature with that is that you see the input volume on the channel where there is something happening. That's really helpful if you have a lot of inputs to see on which one is activity. So, Oda, do you wanted to say something?
No, I don't want to say something. At the end, I want to say something, sure. But I didn't want to interrupt Beat again, because I was interrupting him earlier so much. So,
okay, so something, Pat, you told me you actually a bass player. So I was wondering a bit, how does a bass player get into sound design? How did that happen?
I guess the easy answer for that is I've always loved pedals, guitar pedals. There's like one memory of mine back in the day of like band members and friends of mine would go to, like, here we have Guitar Center. I don't know what you guys have there, like Toman. Yeah, we have Guitar Center here. So we would go there and try all the different guitars, and I'm like, hey, Guitar Center guy, what's all this? He's like, oh, these are pedals. You're a bass player. You don't need this stuff. I was like, well, let me just try them. And I plugged in, and I was blown away by how different my my bass could sound. Sometimes it didn't even sound like a bass. I didn't know what a square wave fuzz then, that like a fuzz pedal was doing to my to the waveform or the sound. But it was really pedals. And when I got into Ableton, it was really like my approach to any DAW is that it is a recording device. First of all, my approach to and philosophy to recording is that it's meant to capture a performance. So really, I'm always just recording all the time, just getting audio into the DAW. But after that, it is mangling it and destroying it and doing everything that I can to it to express how I'm feeling that day. But it was really through pedals that I got into sound design. When I was on I used to work on a cruise ship as a bass player, and I was playing upright bass and I was playing electric bass, and it was like classical and jazz and opera and musicals, and I needed something to like some kind of outlet. So I went to a bunch of different music stores and bought some pedals. And during our off time when we were not performing, I would just go crazy with all these new effects that I bought. I also bought my first Eurorack module gear on that cruise ship. So that's how my
On the cruise ship, how did you?
Yeah. It was just in the store. So like every single day we would port in a different city. One of them had a really good music store in Oregon, Pacific Northwest of the United States. And I bought my first little thing there, my first rack and everything. And then I got into like Make Noise everything and IntelliGel everything. So I was into modular, but then after the cruise ship, I started working at Electro Harmonics, which is a guitar pedal company, following my passion for it. And I started in the finance department. Then I started doing product demo videos, like official videos. And then I worked in the engineering department. During that time, I was an alpha tester for the grid. I think it was version 3, somewhere in there. And I was like, wait a minute, all this money that I just spent on this stuff, I could build myself in the grid. Yes, I sold all of that, only worked in the grid. I even used it for like designing new pedals when I was there, that I would pass off to the real engineers in the engineering department. So it's always been pedals and just like trying new things. But when I got to the grid, like I was like, this is it. This is how I'm able to enter sound design world.
But fiddling around with sounds is a different level than building a whole pedal in the grid. How did you get this knowledge? How to do that?
I mean, it's I could reach my bookshelf, but it's the computer music tutorial. It's the biggest synth book that you could buy. Dave Lindenbank had it at his desk, and I was like, "What's that?" He said, "Just go buy it and read it."
How is it called?
The computer music tutorial.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to buy it, but but you should read it. Yeah. And then like just, like everyone else, watching a ton of tutorials on YouTube. Thank you to people like Otto that make them. Though I have like millions of views on YouTube from videos I've been in, I've never been a YouTuber, and I really appreciate you guys that like decide you want to do it and then actually do it, and you really help people like me. So thank you. But yeah, I was like I don't understand this thing like a synthesizer to begin with. So I just want to learn it. I was fiddling around with it at first, and then I have a degree, like a music theory degree. I got to the point where I understood music theory so well that I lost all of the magic in music. But when I started designing sounds with synthesizers, I was a little afraid to like try and learn everything. So I would just learn a little bit and then just focus on that. And I was like, well, what are these different types of filters? I don't really understand what is a bandpass and what is a cue. I'll just play with that for a week, just that. And that's how I learned. It was like little by little. But then the grid kind of just blew things up for me, where I really got to fiddle with the smallest little thing.
Absolutely. So the thing is, because you said of the videos, I started doing the videos because I was learning as well. And I have a good friend of mine who wanted to learn as well, all that stuff. And so I thought, okay, I'll just start doing videos and put them online so he can just watch them all over again. And maybe some other people like to watch them as well. So that was my start of doing videos. So just have something, because, there are so many, yourself, there are so many different devices and modules and everything. And you start to forget things when you don't use them regularly. And sometimes I watch my own videos because I think, okay, what is happening here right now? I don't understand. What did I do? And then I go back or go to other people, like from the whole community. They are really good people doing really nice videos. You mentioned Dave Lindbank a lot of times. He did recently 2 really great videos. In that sense, you described him a little bit like thinking in a different way of creating music or using things to create music. And a lot of people, like, for example, as well, Polarity, Glitch, or all the other people who creating videos, always have some nice ways of thinking differently on music and creating them with Bitwig.
Yeah, I've watched all of them. I mean, like I'm a certified trainer, yes, but that doesn't mean I know everything about everything, and I have to watch everyone else to learn new things. I mean, I hope people have watched videos, and I'm in, and I mean they're kind of the product demos / tutorials, so they're not full tutorials. But there was one tutorial video that I did with for Bitwig was with Alex. You might know him as Mylar Melodies. If you go to my certified trainer page, there's a link to that video. That's me actually like really teaching. So if you want to check that out, that's kind of the only real tutorial video I've ever done.
Yeah, but that's very helpful in kind of explaining how the things work. For example, the latest addition to the Bitwig 5.2 was the Compressor Plus. And you explained a lot with Compressor Plus. And Dave did a video as well with Sonic State, I think. And those two videos solved a lot of question marks I had in mind when I first saw that device. And that is so helpful when people start talking about this and explaining a little bit how things work. And even if you do a lot of videos or just one in a month or a year or so on, this is very, very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I wish there was more of in the Bitwig community, since this is a community talk. I wish there were more, I guess two things. More videos for people coming from, let's say, Ableton, like a dedicated course, something like, oh, you've used Ableton for 10 years? Here's where everything is in Bitwig. Here's how to start thinking a little differently. But also just more general videos for beginners. Most of the people that I work with, when they contact me through Bitwig's website, are beginners. And they love, like, I'll watch Polarity all day. But I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly.
Correct.
But I'll watch him all day. But like I know beginners will see it and they'll be like, "This is so impressive," but I have no idea what the first thing that's going on is. That's where I come in. I'm teaching them. I wish people in the Bitwig community would help beginners more. That's what I'm saying. With a challenge to all of you.
Yeah. Okay. So we take this as a homework. Yeah. So, but now you really made me curious. How do you become a certified trainer? What do they make them jump through? Which hoops?
Sure. I mean, yeah, it is little jumping through some hoops. So it is. I mean, you should have all seen it advertised. I think you'll probably see it twice a year through Bitwig's social media channels. And maybe there's a newsletter about it, but I think it's through Ask. It's either through Ask Audio or Ask Video. It's the same company. I can't remember what it's called. But there is a certified trainer that runs the whole thing. And when I did it, and I think it's still Fabius Beck that runs it, what you do is, I think it's about a week's worth of training that he does for you. But it's not just like, here's Bitwig. He's not teaching us Bitwig. He's teaching us like how to think about Bitwig, how to also teach Bitwig, and how to present Bitwig when we're on video, mostly. So the whole thing is you do a class with him. Also, Ask Audio, Ask Video has a bunch of courses that Fabius has made. If you go into the help section of Bitwig, you'll see a lot of them there as official courses that you could take, and I think you should if you are just a beginner. But yeah, you definitely have to go through all of those, and then you'll do a live Zoom course with Bitwig. I'm sorry, with Fabius, and then you'll have homework to do, and you present your homework the next day. But by the end, your final assignment to say like you can be certified is you have to pass all of the courses through Ask Audio first of all, and they are graded. Then the last thing is you have to do a 5 to 10 minute presentation, just like a video that you would do on YouTube. So like any of you out there that make Bitwig tutorials, you should consider this. I mean, it's not just like for the clout. Not to just say that I'm a Bitwig certified trainer. It could get you work. But if anyone is considering doing this, yes, you should really, really know Bitwig inside and out. Before taking the course and during, I read the manual like at least 3 times, like back and front, which Dave wrote, by the way. And other people help, I'm sure, but Dave is the one that does that. And the other thing is I would really just focus on what it means to be a teacher, how to teach. Like, this is stuff outside of Bitwig, because yeah, you could just go and make YouTube tutorials, but if you're going to make money from this, that comes from working with people, either one-on-one or in classes, and you're going to have to learn how to teach. So learn Bitwig really well and learn how to teach, like actually working with people. And if you watch my video with Alex, Mylar Melodies from Gear for Music, that's what I'm doing. So if you want to see, I'm not going to say that's a master class, but I think I did an okay job.
It was fantastic. As I said before when we were talking before the show, I just wanted to sneak in a little bit, but then I watched the whole show because I was so fascinated. Like, wow, this is really nice. This gives a really warm atmosphere and just embraces everything your student is asking. And this was really nice. And everybody should watch that to get a clue how you are teaching if they're interested to get some courses from you.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to my certified trainer page, you should be able to contact me through there. Yeah, I could teach you Bitwig, but if you're interested in learning how to teach, my full-time job, and this is something I think the Bitwig community has in common, we probably all have full-time jobs and make music when we're not doing that job. My full-time job is I'm an instructional designer at a college, at Manhattan School of Music here in New York City. What I do is I work with teachers and help them build their courses. So if you want to learn how to teach, get in touch with me. I can help you.
Really nice. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and talking about music, so let's make a little switch. So Beat, I heard you just played live with Bitwig as well. How did that work out?
Yeah, I used Bitwig as a effect processor thing. So I routed every audio from the different synths I used. I routed it through Bitwig and used different plugins for effects, just to reduce a little bit of cabling with that I don't have external effect pedals with me again, and so it worked very well. I made the stupid thing to use a beta version for a live gig, but it worked very well because it had a reason, because they fixed this program change issue, and I was so happy that they fixed it. I used it really to program change it, to make the program changes between tracks, and it worked very well.
So with program changes, you mean that Bitwig sends out a program change to a hardware device?
To every hardware device I use, yes. Yeah.
And you had that in a clip, or where did you put that?
In a clip, yeah.
Okay.
I had also a clip and then an automation value. So it worked. It could be, I don't know how they could make it better, but it is a little bit quirky to make this automation.
It's the old Ableton trick, right?
Yeah, and that's one thing I don't like yet. That you cannot scale these automation things. When you have an automation track like this, and you have to change one value from 1 to 3, it's a little bit tricky. I know you can touch the point and then put the value in, but when you have to make this for 8 devices, it's a little annoying. But yeah, in the end, I think it worked very well. I had to place an empty scene on the start to really get Bitwig in the state to send these program changes when I start the second scene. I don't know why, but then it worked.
Okay, so and the plugins you use for the effects, are you also controlling them? Are you using controllers, so hardware controllers for that?
I used your script with this launch control for
nice.
but only to change the send value. And I have to show it to you. I think there is something quirky. I don't know. It doesn't work every time, but it's not the ideal point to discuss it. I don't know if it's the best hardware control you can get. I don't think so too. But it worked. It worked. As it has, and yeah,
get the job done. Great.
Yeah.
So this is another thing. You're driven by MOS tools or scripts or extensions at the end in Bitwig. This is really one thing. If I wouldn't be convinced to use Bitwig, this would be really one part to use Bitwig, because I had made some videos lately about the generic flexi script that you put also in your collection of really extensive scripts for different controllers, and this is one part to get really the optimum out of your controllers if you like that, because I always had the problem, even when I still used Ableton and everything, was I had good controllers, but they are really not like good supported, good made scripts for the controllers, for the different DAWs. And this is something I really embrace so much, because you're able to optimize your controller for your needs and your workflow. And this is really a big and a great part. And this is really, I can't stress this enough.
Lawfest.
Yeah. And that's why I keep doing such videos, to show people, because a lot of people are not so deep in such techie things, or like in MIDI, or like how controller works or something. And so I try to do some videos for different controllers and say, this was my mindset to use it, and this is how I achieve that with using, for example, the generic flexi script driven by MOS. And so you can do that with different other controllers as well. Just think about it, how you want to use it, and then develop a little strategy to transform that into your controller. And this is really something I'm not an expert for other DAWs, but as far as I know, this is the most flexible situation I know from different DAWs, and I really love this, that I can do this with all my little very old controllers and the new one.
Yeah, especially if some beginners are watching, maybe it's the tutorials from Otto, especially for the generic flexi, much slower than mine. So it's very, very detailed and very great if you want to get into that. So don't worry if you're not that tech savvy with that regard to start it, and just try it.
But can I ask, what was the point where you wanted to start to do something? Because it's not like, oh, I need something. I just set up a completely development environment and start programming because I want to use that button in that context or something.
You mean why Driven by MOS started?
Yeah.
Yeah, why?
I want to know too.
Okay, I heard about this thing called Bitwig, which was this 1.0, and I was absolutely not in search of a of a new DAW. But as I told you, I saw this arranger, and it had the track names on the correct side, on the left side, as I was used to in QS and everything. So I was a little bit curious. And then I saw, oh my, there is a manual for an API, so an application programming interface, how you can program the software. And then I was hooked because I'm a computer scientist and I'm more into management since years. And I was looking for a little program to keep my fingers busy a bit because I love coding. So the little program turned out to be quite large in the end and quite obsessive, but that's how it started. And I also had Ableton, and I just got used a little bit to this approach and of using clips. And so Bitwig was the good choice to go into that. So that's why I had to push one as well. And push one also had an open documentation, how it could be programmed. I'm not sure if it was open. It was, but someone documented it, so I could use it. And in 1 week, I had this pretty close implementation already for push. And then I published it, and then Bitwig called me the next day if I'm looking for a job. But actually, I wasn't. But that's how it started. So I contacted them, and the one controller came after another somehow. And it turns out they're actually not that much. Most of them use this old crappy Mackie protocol, which is unbelievable, that still thing. And yeah, that's really some lazy developers there for hardware controllers, which is a shame because they could do so much more nowadays.
Yeah, you're supporting different protocols like MIDI, then the Mackie, then Open Sound Control as well.
Yeah.
And did I forget something?
Yeah, there's Hui is also an even older Mackie protocol, which you cannot believe this new Yamaha desk, which is about, what does it cost? 4,000 euro or something?
Okay.
Or your other currencies. Same thing, they implemented Hui.
Okay.
Yeah, because lots of people writing me now if I can do some more features in Hui. This is unbelievable.
Okay, so you guys have interest in talking a little bit about the new version, the new beta that is upcoming, or the new version that is upcoming from the beta right now, about some new features and stuff, some new devices or things that you liked already, what you read right now. Beat, do you have something you liked about the new version? Doesn't have to be a device or plugin, or maybe a workflow thing you like?
Just this issue fix for program change, and everything else I didn't
try it yet.
care about devices. I have a lot of devices. And sorry about that.
No problem. Maybe you're too busy to work with your shows and everything, and integrating all your hardware. So sometimes there's more time, sometimes there's less time. So yeah. Pat, I already told that about the Compressor Plus, and I really like that. Do you have anything specific about the new version, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I did the video for Compressor Plus, and I also did the video for the 3 new hardware-inspired EQs. And if anyone's wondering, I get paid for that stuff. I don't work for Bitwig. I'm a freelancer for them. But like right, I wasn't looking for a new compressor. I wasn't looking for new EQs. But I do like that. Like, each one of them makes me think a little bit. Like, Compressor Plus definitely made me think about compression a little bit differently. It made me hear compression differently as well. Like, I'm not a great mixer. I'm not a great master engineer. I do it because 10 years ago the thing was you have to learn everything. So I did. Yeah, Compressor Plus made me see and think about compression differently. I don't know if I can articulate it that well, but like, it was first that it was a multi-band compressor, that it was really like a unified process. And by the way, like, they send it to me. I'm like, what is this? There's a manual yet? They're like, no, go figure it out. So I do.
Okay.
So I don't know if you guys are into jazz at all, but I feel like the piano player and like John Coltrane Giant Steps, like recording John Coltrane is blowing on Giant Steps, and then they're like, okay, piano player, you take it solo now. And he's like, I guess I'll try. That's how I feel when I'm doing these videos.
Okay.
So I'm learning it like on the spot, and then I'm making a video like a few days later. But that one in particular made me think and listen to compression differently. And I was going through the different characters in the video, like with the same drum loop. Like I was like, oh wow, you really can hear a difference between them. Each one of them does have its own character. And what I would do myself is I would just run all of my samples through it and try and get a different sound for everything. But yeah, I guess I'm not usually the person that's like, I want all these new features. I need all these new things. So I do have a list of things that I want to complain about. It's on my wish list. Oh yeah, I wrote a whole book. But like when something new comes in and is in my face, and I have to learn it. Like it does take you in different directions. And Compressor Plus, maybe not so much the EQs because I already had plugins from EU and UA that did the same thing. I did like the visualizers on them; those are helpful to see what's actually going on. Yeah, so there's as every new plugin that I get a piece of hardware, I went for it, but it made me think differently, and that's always what I'm going for, is to think in different ways that I wouldn't normally. So I'm thankful for every new version that comes out.
Yeah, I'm always amazed about the new devices, but I'm amazed about the whole workflow things they are doing in the back, and not only the new hardware inspired engine for displaying things. I don't mean that was very impressive that they did that. I know that's a really big thing, even if you can't see it so much. But mostly on different parts they do, like adjusting maybe shortcuts or doing things to the whole workflow, because that's always a thing I'm using every day or every time I'm using Bitwig thousands of times. And if there's something that is made easier, better, more optimized, the whole workflow is better. And if I have some ideas in my head and I have to use complicated workaround, the idea vanishes away. So it's always the fight in between. Catch the idea and put it on the sheet, or just lose it because you have to deal with some, oh no, I have to do it like this way. Oh no, that doesn't work in that direction. I have to do it, and everything. Because the recording was completely cut off here, as you can see from the interference, I will just briefly summarize what we talked about at the end. We talked about the features of the current version 5.2 that we find most interesting and why they appeal to us so directly. These were the program change fix that Beat already mentioned, the new workflow improvements, and of course the new Compressor Plus, which is not only a new device in many respects, but also contains so many options in a single device in the field of compressors. We also talked about wishes for the future. We mentioned MIDI comping, Era plugin support, and the expansion of accessibility. And we talked about theming, which is currently making the rounds in the community, and that the four of us are not part of the target group for whom this is very important. But we can still understand why many would like to see such visualization customization. Finally, we talked about what's next for us or what we have planned. Pat talked about a very exciting project he has in mind, which is not about music therapy in a traditional sense. He said that many sessions he has had with people have been about being able to express themselves, and that music can be a wonderful vehicle for that, and that sessions oft felt more like therapy. And just as mental health has become an increasingly important topic in the music industry in recent months and years, this is certainly a very important project for a very large number of people. And the rest of us were planning to create some more music, tutorials, and vastly helpful tools. We hope you found this episode as interesting as we did despite the adventurous start, and we'll be back for the next episode. Until then, save the future and make some funky music.